Hello dear students, welcome to the lecture 8 of Responsive Web Design with ASP.NET 5 and MVC Pattern and Bootstrap 5. So today we will continue from where we have left in the previous lecture. In the lecture 7 we have seen model binding at the end. So let's start with cloning our latest project as usual so that you can access each of them individually from GitHub. You could also do that with GitHub versioning branching, but it may be harder for who is not accustomed to GitHub repository management. Therefore, I am cloning each time the project. Okay. So in the model binding, we were able to bind parameters to our model, and at the code behind, they were automatically getting bound. In a moment, I will show that and we will remember it. So it was much easier to use than old school HTML form posting and such. Okay, so let's rename our lecture to 8. Okay, you see we have lecture 7 controller, and here we should have model bound version. Okay, none of these are taking a model. We need action that takes model. Maybe it was inside another thing. Okay, binding controller. Okay, here you see this action result is taking a model as an input. This is how we bind a form to a model. Let's go to the view of this controller, and we were using entity framework to do our database operations. So it will be inside binding folder. Okay, so this is how we generate model using HTML form. This is how we bind parameters. So let's continue to our tutorial. Okay, so the next article is data annotations.
In the previous article, we started digging into the very relevant subject of model binding. With model binding, we can create a stronger connection between the model and the view, and in return, we get a lot of help in the creation of markup and processing of requests. The view simply reads your model class, and then uses the available information to help you, e.g. by creating a relevant text box control for a property in a form.
Okay, so let's run our application to remember. You see, there is a label for an iHTML helper method, and there is text box for ASP.NET MVC Engine is generating relevant HTML code from this server-side code. Simply there is submit, and there is the form. Okay, so where does this form get post address? I think it is simply posting to whatever the page it is. So it is posting to, by default, since we didn't define anything, index of binding controller. Yes, we also had defined attribute routing and HTTP post. So you see, first name parameter, last name parameter. We can of course customize these, and we will see them. So let's continue.
However, sometimes it can be relevant for your views to know more about a property on your model than just its name and type. For these situations, ASP.NET MVC comes with the concept of data annotations, sometimes referred to as model attributes, which basically allows you to add metadata to a property. The cool thing about data annotations is that they don't disturb the use of your models outside of the MVC framework.
I think model attributes sounds better, more explanative. So how to use data annotations?
How to use data annotations. Allow me to give you a quick idea of how data annotations work. For instance, a very common scenario, which we actually saw in the previous article, is that we would like to have the framework generate a label and an input field for a property. When generating the label, the name of the property is used, but property names are generally not nice to look at for humans. As an example of that, we might want to change the display version of the first name property to first name. With data annotations, that's very easy.
Let's remember what was happening. We were setting same parameter name. So this parameter name, this property comes from our model. I think I will duplicate code so the lecture 7 will remain as well. Or just let's change this lecture 8 perhaps. Okay, let's keep the lecture 7. So let's add lecture 8. It will be a controller. Okay, add. Okay, lecture 8. This will use model of lecture 7. I'm going to duplicate that as well. 7. Okay, and let's copy and paste this into here. Let's copy and okay, this doesn't have ending controller, so I have to fix that. Yes, all references are getting renamed. Let's copy and paste these methods. Actually, we just need to get the binding controller methods, not the lecture 8 here. So I have to delete this because they would get conflicting if I keep it. Now the root will be lecture 8. It will be using lecture 8. So it will add me suggestion as lecture 6 models, namespace lecture 6. Okay, it will use lecture 8 model. We also need lecture 8 View. Okay, and let's add index HTML. We can also add lecture 8 View as well. I think I will name it as lecture 8. Okay, so when I return View, I have to return lecture 8 since it is not indexed, and here also lecture 8. And let's copy and paste binding here. We also need to set lecture 8 model here. Okay, so everything is ready. By default we should see lecture 8, so let's type a message here, lecture 8 index, or let's say main page. Let's make this header h1 and run the application to see. Okay, it says that we are passing an incorrect item to maybe controller. Okay, where do we have an error? It says that we have passed somewhere lecture 8 model, but where? Lecture 8 controller, lecture 8. Okay, update user. So update user expecting lecture 7. Oh no, it is not. I think refresh model is the problem perhaps. Let's try. Yeah, here is the problem because this is returning lecture 7 and our view is expecting lecture 8. Therefore, we need to have additional refresh model. Okay, how should we set it? Yeah, I think we can make this perfectly dynamic with, no, it wouldn't be strong type, but let's add a int ir lecture number. And here, okay, this is going to be a bit of a problem. Yeah, let's duplicate this code. We could reduce the duplicate code, but I think it doesn't worth it. So this is the refresh model, but since they have the same signature, it will get conflicting. So this will be version 8, and here I will just call the version 8. Okay, now it should work. You see, when you encounter a problem, you should read the details, because usually details will tell you where is the problem, then you can pinpoint the problem easily and solve it. Okay, so the error messages you are getting when developing a software is really important. Okay, so lecture 8 main page is opened, but we are still seeing parameter names. So now we are going to use data annotations, as known as also the model attributes. Where do we set this attribute? We set this attribute data annotation actually at the model. So let's open our model, which is lecture 8, and I will set the first name as first name. Okay, but you see it is displaying an error because it requires using system component data annotations reference, and after it is added, now we can add, so the last name will be as last name. Okay, so let's format a bit, and now when we restart the application, we will see this display. You see, we also provide which item of the annotation. Display takes some parameters, and we are providing name. You see, display attribute has probably multiple options. Okay, first name and last name. Yes, much better. Let's continue.
Notice how the data annotation just sits on top of the property, just like any other type of C# custom attribute. Using the display data annotation, we can alter the display version of the property name. With that in place, our property keeps its original name, but whenever it's presented to a user, an alternate version of first name is used. Types of data annotations. This was just an example of one of the many available data annotation attributes. There are many more, but a lot of them relates directly to validation, a subject which we'll be discussing in one of the next articles. But for a complete list of available annotation attributes, I suggest that you check out the documentation.
Okay, let's take a look at the documentation. Okay, currently it is displaying .NET 5, so we are going to choose .NET Core. Actually, there is .NET Core 5, but maybe .NET Standard? No. Yeah, .NET 5 is the real new one. Okay, yes, true. So what other annotations there are? So okay, there are so many annotations. You see display attribute, data type attribute, custom validation, credit card. Let's look at the display attribute and see what properties it has. It has description. Guess or sets a value that is used to display description in the UI. Group name, order, interesting. Prompt, resource type, short name, type ID. Actually, I want to check the description and see what kind of description attribute we can set. So, okay, you see when I put a comma, it is displaying all possible attributes that we can set. So I'm going to set description as well. We have set the name, and there is also order, prompt. Let's set the description equal to, please enter your first name to the text box. Okay. And let's also set a prompt. I wonder what does that do. Okay, so this is the prompt message. Okay, now when we restart the application, we can see what kind of HTML source code is generated. This is just for the display attribute. There are also so many other attributes such as compare, credit card, custom validation, data type, display column, and editable attribute, email address. We will see many of them in the following lectures, but we can use all of them by just looking here. So I think I will add this to the source code like this, and well, property attribute data. Okay, so here our page opened. When I hover my mouse, I see nothing. Okay, let's check the source code. Okay, there is placeholder. This is the prompt message. However, placeholders would be displayed in the text box. Yeah, as we see, the description is nowhere to be found, and the placeholder, this is the prompt message. So I think we can set prompt message for the text box, maybe here, but I'm not sure how we can do it. Yeah. Okay, if you ever need that, let's look. There is model email, new title. Oh, so you can display it like this. Anyway, let's continue.
Summary. Data annotations allow you to enrich your models with metadata, which can be used for a wide range of purposes by the MVC framework. We'll talk about one of the most important use cases for data annotations in the next article, model validation.
Okay, let's continue. But before doing that, I would like to change this text box with attributes. Okay, there is T-model HTML attributes, not string, but T-model, perhaps. Okay, there is expression, string format, T-model, that's no HTML attributes, and we see text box prompt. Let's see. Oh, there is placeholder, email, null, new. Okay, so this is a way, but I would like to use prompt attributes. There is description. So this is the way we set. So here I am setting it equal to last name, whatever name, but I think I can also set it to prompt attribute. Perhaps, how can I do that? Okay, no attributes like text area for input field, text area for, this is text box. Okay, so probably we need to set, okay, HTML attributes, can we set that? We need to set it as new, T-model, no, new, and class, okay, we don't need the class. There is placeholder, and for this placeholder, I want to use the model. No, not available. So I have to set custom attribute here, enter your name, and let's rerun. We could also set other attributes of text box in here, but I'm just setting the placeholder. Okay, I see. Okay, anyway, and let's move to the next. Okay, and updated v4, db v4. Okay, it didn't work. Why? Why the placeholder didn't work? Okay, placeholder here, but since it has a value, I think that is overriding. Yes, when we delete the value, the placeholder works. I see. The placeholder works when we delete the value.
Model validation. In the previous article, we talked about data annotations and how they can enrich your models to work even tighter together with your views. However, a lot of the available data annotations are actually directly related to the validation mechanisms found in the ASP.NET MVC framework. They will allow you to enforce various kinds of rules for your properties, which will be used in your views and in your controllers, where you will be able to check whether a certain model is valid in its current state or not, e.g. after a form submission.
So since this will also validate model at the server side, it provides 100% security. Even if the malicious user modifies your HTML code and sends unexpected values back to your server. With model validation techniques of ASP.NET MVC framework, you will be secured.
Adding basic validation. Just like we saw in the previous article, validation rules can be applied to properties through the use of data annotations. There are several types available, but for now, we'll add just a couple of them to the web user class previously introduced.
Okay, so let's apply some of them to our model actually. So we have display name. We also add required. Required means that this date specifies a data field required, and it will be maximum by default. We can also set, I think, min and max. How do we do that? Maximum length. Okay, minimum length like this. Okay, minimum length equal to, let's say, 3 characters, and maximum length will be 25. So this will be applied to name method before even we can do post back. Let's try. And if we don't enter anything, it won't post back to the server. Of course, the source code modification can cause a post back, but when we do the model validation, it won't work. Currently, we are not doing any model validation, so I will just show you example. Okay, when I type something like this and click submit, it says that, oh, multiple actions meshed. Binding controller index and lecture controller index. In the binding controller, yeah, I have to remove these as well. That is why. Okay, let's restart. It was related to routing that we have set in the previous lecture. I'm not sure if this will ensure that, I think it won't show error message here. When I do like this, just type something, submit. Yeah, it is not enforcing any validation at the moment, so it is just working right now. We are not enforcing any validation. Let's also add a mail address as well to our model here. Okay, string email, and this email will be also required an email address validation. And I also will generate fields for email. Let's also set display name for email. I think I will also set a prompt. No, this is the bottom mark. This is not related. This is description UI. Do we have placeholders? No. Let's try description email. And let's continue.
Notice how the 3 properties have all been decorated with data annotations, giving the framework useful information for validating the data. First of all properties have been marked with the required attribute, meaning that a value is required, it can't be null. We have also used the string length attribute to make requirements about the maximum, and in one case minimum, length of the strings. These are of course particularly relevant if your model corresponds to a database table, where strings are often defined with a maximum length. For the last property, we have used the email address attribute to ensure that the value provided looks like an email address. To test this example, let's create a simple form for it. We'll use model binding, as described in a previous article, to generate the fields for the properties.
Okay, we have already done that.
Now we just need a controller to serve the view, as well as handle the post request when the form is submitted.
Okay, so there is the issue. You see, we have model state is valid. We have to apply that. We are going to apply that rule into our action page where we get the model. So model state is valid since we are getting a model. If it is invalid, we are going to return a message like this, and we will just return. So if it is invalid, let's make it like this, and we will say that. So can we see in which value is error nose? The values you have entered are invalid. Therefore, please save errors and try again. So let's try. What we were enforcing a valid email address, a name, first name with minimum letter 3 and maximum 25. Okay, so since we have done update at the database, it's coming as D, and when I submit, okay, it says the values you have entered are invalid, therefore fix the error. And for example, I submit DA and it won't update the database, yes. However, if I make it like this and enter a valid email, it should submit. Okay, now updated. However, we don't have email as our database, so it is not getting updated. Let's open our SQL Server profiler. I will add email option and it will be nullable column. Therefore, when I do update, it should work. Oh, I also need to update my, of course, context. I will do that as well, so it will be also useful for you to remember how it was done. It was, no, not this one. Okay, MVC, yeah, it was our MVC here. Okay, let's design and add email. I will make it envar character 200 and it will be allowing nulls. Okay, therefore the existing users will get null value in their email address like this. Okay, and then we need to update our model with EP Power Tools Reverse Engineer. And okay, MVC is selected. Now currently loading database objects. Okay, I will pick everything. Yes. I will include connection string. Okay. Okay, it has generated email as well. Has max length. It should allow also nullable. Let's make the comment this. And then in my controller, I need to set email equal to my model.sr email. Okay, now email will be also set. We are currently only updating user ID 1. So if I want to update other users, I need to also add user ID. Let's add that as well. Let's generate user ID. To be able to generate user ID, I need to modify my model ID. Actually, this will be an integer. Therefore, I will set as integer IR user ID. It will be required. And let's set it as user ID. Enter valid ID. Okay, we can also set a requirement as integer perhaps. Let's see if there is something like that. No. Min length, what other there is? And int, no. You see there is phone attribute. Required regular expression range attribute. When set range, yes, it is double though. It is not integer, so range wouldn't work. What else there is? Validation URL type and string required range phone. Option there can be min max, but I'm not sure. There is custom validation as well. No. Probably we need to set range. It is for double though. I think we can set some values as, let's see, there is minimum, maximum. Let's set the minimum as 1, maximum as int32 max. And let's set them here, user ID. Text box for user ID. I'll remove this. And at the code behind, we need to update by getting user ID. Yeah. So update user needs to be updated because it wouldn't work with lecture 7. Anyway, let's just update it. We have my user incoming. It will use my user ID. Okay. User.email will be equal to my user.email. Okay. So did we make the user ID primary key identity? Let's check it out. If it is identity, then we won't, no, it is not identity. Therefore, we need to also provide user ID as well. Okay, everything is set here. Okay, what we need to do is change refresh model. So where do we call this? We call it, by the way, we also need to set email here as well. Here. So here we are providing 1, but we will change this actually here. This is the get method. Get method can remain like this, but for post, we need to provide user ID from here, my model dot user ID. Also, for get method, I am going to get an integer like this, equal 1, and here. So for this to be able to work, we need to add optional parameters. Yeah, it should work like this. So let's try. I think we should delete this and let's restart to see what happens. And let's try to update different users. I think I will list users as table at the bottom. Okay, it is working. So let's try user 2. Yes, it is working. However, we are not setting user ID. Therefore, we need to set that. How we gonna set it? From refresh model, perhaps. Yeah, we need to set user ID here equal to user ID. Yes, and we need to set email as well. Oh no, no need to set email. Actually, let's just don't set these two. Okay, now it should work. Okay, user ID 1. Let's get user ID 2. User ID 2. And let's get user ID 3, user ID 3. Let's update an email for user ID 3. Okay, when I refresh database, there is nothing. Actually, email is null and submit. Okay, so it says there is a page. Since we have changed our URL, now we have to define the post as well. So in the HTML begin form, we need to set post action. How we were setting it. So let's provide full URL. So the full URL will be lecture 8. And where is our post? So it will be index. Yes, lecture 8 index action. Let's try. You see, when you change the URL that doesn't match to default, you have to specify which form it will be post. Okay, well, let's check the submit and source code. Okay, so it is going to post length 15. Okay, it looks like incorrect. Yeah, this action name is incorrect. Let's try like this. Yeah, I'm not sure. Let's try. So let's try 4. Okay, they are not getting loaded. Interesting. Why? In our refresh model, let's put a breakpoint here and get the page. Okay, we are user. Oh, it didn't find we are user because the user ID is, okay, it is 4. Why? Oh, we don't have such user. Okay. Okay, let's continue. So we have user 6. Let's try that. Okay, it is here. Let's try to update user 6, submit. So this is not the correct way. Let's just fix it. Oh, we can also set action name. So the first one is being the action name. Yeah, I think this is nice. So here on our, I think this is the nicest solution. Route, I'm going to set action name as update model, or let's say update feature 8 model, whatever I want. And in the action here, I will just provide a name. It will be the action name, simply like this. I think rest will be handled by the ASP.NET Engine. We can also set form post method and such, but it will be by default. Let's see. Okay, let's try something like this. Okay, it doesn't look correct. Why? So now we are seeing form method. Let's see. Controller name, action name. Okay, now it should work, and our action name will be this one. Yeah, now makes sense. Now it will look for lecture 8 controller with the action name update lecture 8 model. Let's retry. So this is the way we should have done that. Okay, let's check the action. Okay, now looks correct to me. Let's retry like this. Yes. So now we can update. Let's update user. Oh, by the way, since there is no user ID 4, I think you should insert it. Okay, now it is working. Let's check the database. There were no user 4, and now it is here. Let's update user 6. You see the URL has returned back to root because that is what we have done. user6@gmail.com. Okay, it is also working. Let's enter a non-valid email and see what happens. Okay, the values you have entered are invalid, therefore please fix the errors and try again. And it didn't get updated. Okay, everything is working. Now we can continue to our tutorial. Okay.
The interesting part here is of course the post action, where we check the isValid property of the model state object. Depending on the data you submitted in the form, it will be either true or false, based on the validation rules we defined for the model web user. With this in place, you can now prevent a model from being saved, e.g. to a database, unless it's completely valid. Displaying validation errors.
Okay, this is what we need. Currently, we are not displaying any error to the user. Therefore, they cannot know what is wrong. And this is something that I personally hate from the applications when they don't show exactly what is wrong. So you should always display what is wrong to the user. Let's continue. How can we do it easily?
In the above example, we can now see whether a model is valid or not, thanks to the validation rules we have added to the model. But it would obviously be way more useful if we could show these problems to the end user, so that they could be fixed. Fortunately for us, that's really easy. First of all, we need to extend our form so that it can display error messages to the user. We can use another helper method found on the HTML object, the validation message for method. It will simply output the error message related to the field. If there is one otherwise, nothing will be outputted. Here's the extended version of our form.
Okay, so simply we are adding HTML validation message 4 to our form for each attribute that we have. and this will generate necessary HTML code automatically for our application, which is extremely convenient to use. Okay, let's restart the application. Okay, now when we check the source code, we will see what additional code added. Okay, so you see there is request verification token, and let's check the each div. Okay, there is email. You see data val email. The email field is not valid email address. So this is the message that it has automatically added. Also there is another message. So these are probably related to browsers. So it is also using span class feed validation, input. Yeah, I think it is using the browser features itself. So when I submit like this, okay, it says that the email field is not valid email address. You see, we are seeing the error here. And when we check other ones, okay, so there is also field validation valid class. Actually, there is no validation for our this one. Let's check this one. Since there weren't any validation, it didn't generate anything. It is just like this. And when we check this one, okay, so it has added input data val length, okay, data val length max, data val length min. I think it is simply using browser features, whatever the browser you are using. Why I can see the page source? Let's try like this. Okay, yes, I don't see any script, so simply it is depending on the browser that you are using. If your browser is not supporting these features, it wouldn't work, obviously. For example, let's try submit. Yes, it says the email field. So the message is also different. So this is saying the email field is required. The email field is not valid. The field first name must be a string with minimum length 3 and maximum length of 25. Let's see if it's same here. Yeah, same. When we try Explorer, older one, Internet Explorer, which is not commonly used anymore, let's see if it is working or not. Okay, let's try like this. Oh, it is still working. This is not the oldest Internet Explorer. This is the one that were still decent. You see also there is data value D, which is what we have set. When I set like this, okay, it says that the field user ID must be between 1 and the integer max. It is working. Now we are also seeing error messages just next to the element with span, as you can see. And it is extremely useful, extremely easy to implement. Let's continue.
We also need to make sure that once the form is submitted, and if there are validation errors, we return the form to the user, so that they can see and fix these errors. We do that in our controller, simply by returning the view and the current model state, if there are any validation errors.
By the way, it is important that you have to always check this at the server side, because without server side validation, your application will be vulnerable to every kind of attack.
With that in place, try submitting the form with empty fields. You should be immediately returned to the form, but with validation messages next to each of the fields, thanks to the required attribute.
Okay, let's test something. Okay, the form submission is still happening. We are not still preventing form submission, but we are checking and displaying the error messages.
If you try submitting the form with a value that doesn't meet the string length requirements, you will notice that there are even automatically generated error messages for these as well. For instance, if you submit the form with a last name that's either too long or too short, you will get this message. The field last name must be a string with a minimum length of 3 and a maximum length of 50. But what if you want more control of these messages? No problem, they can be overridden directly in the data annotations of the model. Here's a version of our model where we have applied custom error messages.
You would like to generate custom messages because in your language, for example, if you want to make this in Turkish, we need to change messages as well. So we set required, and now we can set error message of required, something like this. Let's try. So I will say that I will change it to anything I want. You have to enter valid email can't be left empty. Okay. Or for example, let's add a message for range. How can we set it? I think from here, concurrent bool. Okay, there's error message like this, equal to the entered value was not a valid integer, for example. Okay, now let's retry. By the way, I think this will also accept double values. Therefore, we have to enter something that is not valid as an integer. Assume that you are displaying messages according to your visitor language, then it can be also extremely easily done. Based on some parameters, you can feed custom message here. You have to enter a valid email. Okay, so this is the message we have entered. Let's try something bigger than maximum integer. Okay, the value is not valid for user ID. Okay, so this is not the message we wanted. Let's try something like this. Okay, this is correct, but this one is not. Okay, so there are two different messages. Interesting. It displays different message based on the different input. Anyway, we are seeing the error and we are able to set custom messages. So you see, for requirement, you can set this. For email address, you can set this. You can set as you want.
So as you can see, it's really easy to customize the error messages. Displaying a validation summary. An individual error message for each input field can be really useful, especially if you have a large form. However, for smaller forms, like the one in our example, it might be more useful to simply display a summary of the validation errors, either above or below all the fields. That's easily accomplished, thanks to the validation summary method found on the HTML helper object.
Okay, let's also print a summary and see what kind of output it generates. I am going to put it under the input like this and see what kind of validation summary output we will get. We will still get the individual messages since we didn't remove them, and we will get a summary as well. However, displaying both might be more useful because with individual messages, they will be sure that what is wrong for which field. With summary, it will display everything at the bottom. Okay, so this is our summary. You have to enter a valid email. Email can't be left empty. It is the same as here. Okay, so it is now. Let's enter 0. Okay, it is added. Let's enter like this. Okay, so this is the summary and these are the individual error messages. It is working great. Okay, so let's continue.
Summary. Adding basic model validation is very easy and will help ensure that user-provided information matches the requirements you may have for the data. As mentioned, these are just some of the validation options available in the ASP.NET MVC framework. In the next article, we'll look into the rest of them.
Okay, let's move to the next article.
Types of model validation data annotations. In the last article, we introduced model validation and showed you how easy it is to get started with. We used a couple of the validation-related data annotations, like required and string length, but as mentioned, there are several other types. In this article, I will run through all of them to give you a better idea of all the possibilities. Required specifies that a value needs to be provided for this property. You should be aware that non-nullable value types, e.g. integers and datetimes, are always required and therefore you don't need to add the required attribute for them. For strings, you should have in mind that an empty value will be treated like a null value and therefore result in a validation error. This behavior can be changed by using the allow empty strings property though.
Okay, let's try with allow empty strings property in our model here. I will set the last name as required. However, I will allow, you see it is also displaying that feature. Allow empty string is a bool validation equal to true. Now it will be required, but it will allow empty strings. Empty string is simply space character. Okay, let's retry. Okay, we have seen the string length.
String length allows you to specify at least a maximum amount of characters, the first, non-optional parameter, for a string, with the added possibility of specifying a minimum amount as well. Here's an example. String length 50, minimum length equals 3. In this case, the value can't be validated if it's less than 3 characters or more than 50 characters long.
Okay, so first let's try our last name. I will delete it, submit. Okay, it says the last name field is required. Now I will test with a space character like this, submit. Oh, we are still getting an error. Okay, let's see. We have put it to last name, yeah, and we have allowed empty strings. Let's try again. Interesting. Let's try something like this. Okay. It is supposed to allow empty characters, but yeah, it is not working. It's still not allowing. No. Let's see if someone else also asked it. Oh, I see. We also need to set this as well. It is not very important. Let's continue. Okay, there is range.
Range. With the range attribute, you can specify a minimum and a maximum value for a numeric property, int, float, double, etc. Both a minimum and a maximum is required when you use this attribute like this. Range 1, 100. Now your numeric value must be between 1 and 100. Compare. The compare attribute allows you to set up a comparison between the property in question and another property, requiring them to match. A common use case for this could be to ensure that the user enters the same values in both the email and the email repeated fields. Compare mail address repeated, public string mail address, get, set, public string mail address repeated, get, set.
For this to work, we need to add additional parameter to our model, but it won't be used when saving or updating database. Simply, it will be like email repeated, like this. Then we are going to generate additional email parameter as email repeated, like this. And additionally, here we are going to add a compare. With compare, it will take other property. The other property will be email repeated, but it is expecting string. Yes. Yeah, let's try it will work or not. Okay, we have email repeated in the same div. So it's like this. Okay, email and SR repeated do not match. Yes, now we are getting the error message. It is displayed here. We can set wherever we want the message to be displayed. For example, I can set the validation message inside same div, but with VR, I mean the new line, like this. Why it is not working? Like this. And now the new message will be here. I can also change how it looks. For example, let's do that as well. Okay, let's remove and spawn like this. Get some styling style. Okay, here let's set font color, or let's say just the background color, for example, background. Okay, color as whatever the color we want, for example, blue violet. Error message of email will be displayed under the text boxes with a background color of blue violet. Okay, and there are also some types. I will also test them. Okay, let's try like this. Okay, the email field is not a valid email address, so I have to add a valid email first. Then, okay, email and SR email repeated do not match. Okay, let's continue. So there is also specific types.
Specific types. If your string falls into a specific category, e.g. a phone number, the ASP.NET MVC can supply you with basic validation out of the box. Here's a list of the types you can specify. Credit card validates that the property has a credit card format.
So you can validate property, email address, yes.
Common for all of these is that they only provide a very basic validation. So for instance, the email validation will only ensure that the entered value will contain some of the characteristics of an email address, like containing an int character and so on, but it will still be possible to enter something that is not actually an email address. For more accuracy and/or flexibility, use the regular expression attribute or implement your own custom logic, as described in one of the next articles. Regular expression. When none of the other types of validation are flexible enough, the last resort might very well be the regular expression attribute. It allows you to specify a regular expression which the value of your property will be validated against, and it will only be valid if there's a match. Regular expressions are way too big a subject to handle in this article, but allow me to demonstrate just how powerful they are anyway. Imagine that your web user class has a member ID which has to be in this specific format, 20-0000-0000. Or in other words, 2 letters, a dash and then 2 groups of 4 numbers with a dash between, like ZX1234-5678. We can make a regular expression for just that and put it inside our regular expression attribute. Regular expression, AZ2.
Okay, so regular expressions are of course another topic, but you can use regular expressions as well for validation. This can be done for credit card or any other thing. Possibilities with regular expressions are, of course, endless.
The possibilities with regular expressions are almost endless, and they can be used in many other situations than just validation. so learning how to use them can be a good investment.
Definitely very good investment. You should learn them if you can. They are hard but extremely useful in many cases.
Investment.
So when we open these pages, I think we will see them. Okay, there is a tutorial here, and there is another one. You can type your pattern. For example, let's type our pattern. Okay, and oh, here we have to type pattern that will match these. So maybe like this. Yeah, it is matching all. Okay, usually it is matching all three character, and when we make four, this one fails. Like this you can do it. I am not also very good with regular expressions, but there are also some lesson notes here, so I think this will be 3 and 6 or 7, yes. Minimum 3, maximum 6. Could also set characters such as like this. Yes, still matching. But like this, it will fail. Yeah, very good website actually to learn regular expressions.
Custom model validation. If you ever feel that the built-in validation methods, as discussed in the previous articles, are not enough, ASP.NET MVC offers you the possibility of implementing your own validation logic. There may be many occasions where this is a good idea, but you should of course first make sure that there isn't already an easier, built-in alternative like the regular expression option, which offers great flexibility. With that said, it's really not that difficult to implement your own validation logic. There are a couple of ways to do it, so let's examine both. We'll expand on our previous examples in the last couple of articles, where we introduced the web user class. We'll add a birthday property to it, and then do some custom validation of it. Custom validation with validation attribute. If you want validation similar to the built-in kind, where you can add data annotations to your properties, e.g., required, or email address, you can simply create a class and let it inherit from the validation attribute. After that, simply override the isValid method and write your own logic. For our example, I have added some pretty basic, and perhaps slightly silly, validation to the isValid method, just to show you the possibilities. Some of it could have been handled with range validation, but not all of it, and that's the beauty of custom validation. You can add as much logic as you need to. Also, you can return individual error messages for each of your checks, like I do in my example.
This is a great example of doing custom validation. Assume that we also have birthday parameter as well. So let's add birthday to our database, and it will be date time. We will allow nulls, and then just update our model. Okay, so the birthday will come. Let's see the birthday, where it is. Email birthday here has column type date time, and then in our model here I'm going to add prop date time. Okay, dt birthday. Okay, I could use validation for birthday, something like this. Date time, of course, not birthday. And here we have credit card attribute, for example, and I think I will check the data type. Okay, there is data type, and from data type we have credit card currency, custom date, date time. Yes, so this is the one that we need, and there is an example also here how we apply it. So I could just apply data type requirement and data type date time actually. So this would ensure that entered value is date time. However, I want to extend this. For example, I don't want to allow dates previous or after than certain date. Therefore, I will write an extended validation class, something like this, public class or method. Let's see here, class, my custom birthday validation, and it will extend data validation. I think it is validation attribute, yeah. So this is a class inheritance actually, not extension. This class will inherit everything that validation attribute class have. You see it is coming from here. Then I am going to have protected override. So this is going to override validation result is valid method. Is valid method is called when it is called when we check in our controller model state is valid, and here we will check whether it is valid birthday or not. First we should check entered value is date time. So first we need to add date time like this, and then we will be sure that it is date time. We will check the entered dates, something like that. Okay, and there are some validation results. We are going to add our custom validation to here simply like this. Okay, then we are going to have another division to here. It will be, let's copy paste this. Okay, label for DT birthday. And I think there is a way to date picker or something, but I don't remember how was it. Maybe it is shown here. Okay, there is model and new type date. Yeah, and here we will define the type as date, and validation message will be for DT birthday. We won't be saving them in the database yet because we didn't update our functions, but we should be able to see custom validation already. I think we can even do debug at here. Okay, where did we code it? We have coded it in our model. We can even test it here. Okay, first I will enter an invalid date. Okay, you see it's date format. This format is coming from browser, so it will look different on each browser. Let's see. Okay, you see there's the icon is different, not much, but different. So it should allow us to pick some date. Let me enter an invalid. Oh, it doesn't allow me to change. I will make it invalid from here, something like this. Oh, it is not working. Okay, I have changed the date value. Yeah, let's try submit and see what happens. Okay, it has come to here, the value. Oh, it didn't send the value that we are modified. Interesting. Why? I want to change the value here and send. Oh, now the value is invalid. Okay. So you see, it is verifying the value. Therefore, we didn't get into this. Why? Because we are verifying the value is datetime or not in here. However, if I remove this, when I enter invalid value, I should get into my method. Let's see. So it provides an extra layer of security. First, we check that whether it is a valid datetime value input. Then we check whether it satisfies our custom rules or not. See, okay, now I will change value to something invalid. So it has the default value as first here, and when I submit, oh, it still didn't work. The value is invalid. How it is able to check that? Input validation error. So it is not getting into here. Interesting. Invalid operation exception, not implemented exception. Maybe it is checking that it is whether datetime or not, since this is datetime type. I'm not sure. When we submit like this, okay, we have to provide something. Okay, now it is working. Yeah. Okay, so it says you are too young. Why? Because we are checking that if the birthday year is above 2000, they are just too young. Let's also update our model so they will be saved in database. DT birthday equals VR user date birthday, and then oh, I cannot implicitly convert system date time. Okay, it is not able to convert because we allow null values. Therefore, we have to check whether if it is not null. If null, we have to explicitly convert it. This, okay, and actual database null. Okay, let's set it like this. Here, we need to set the email as well. I mean the birthday. Okay, so this is update user. Okay, let's try and let's see the users. Okay, birthday values are null. Actually, this is database null. So I'm not sure if it will work or not as a null check, because normally datetime cannot be null because it's a struct type. So to be sure, we just need to set a breakpoint here. When we refresh model, we will see. So let's refresh. So the birthday, okay, it is null, therefore it should work. Yeah, working. And let's update this user birthday something valid as 2005, February 15. I think it is okay, not satisfying. So we need to change it to something like this. Okay, now it should work. Let's enter a valid email too. Okay, so it says it is updated, and when we refresh, it is not getting read. Okay, it didn't work. Why? We have an error somewhere. Oh, I know the reason, because we didn't set it here. We also have to set it here as equal to my model dot dt birthday, and now it should work. Okay, and you see email was updated, therefore I can see it. Let's update birthday as well. Okay, now updated, and let's refresh. Okay, it is not read, but it is updated. Okay, so the birthday is updated, but it is not displayed here. I wonder if we can display the data, but probably we can't load it. Probably coming from database, but not getting loaded into here. Okay, actually the value is set, but it is not displayed. What kind of value would we get displayed? Maybe let's pick something. Okay, why I don't see the value changing? Interesting. It's setting somewhere a value, but I don't see it in the source code. So this value is kept somewhere else. Where it shows there is flex. What is this? Okay, let's see. Okay, so type date. Okay, it is working here. So it is expecting a date something like this. We need to change the value of date actually. I see. So I simply need to format the value like this, year, month, date. So I will fix it in a moment in my controller refresh. So where is the refresh? Okay, so refresh is here. Let's go there. And when we read email, we are going to format it specific to something. Okay, try format or to string. Yeah, here and sharp date time format string. See how can we do it. Okay, simply like this. Okay, what we need is year, month, and date. Let's open it. I think it will be something like this. Year. So no, don't have this. Month, date. And oh, I can't set it like that. So I have to set a string to its value. So to be able to set its value, I think there is also something value or something. Okay, there is new value, so we need to set value equal and be to string. Oh, it is not available here. So how can we set a dynamic value? Model age. Okay, so now this makes sense. It will be model. Yeah, and the birthday to string. Yes, simply like this. So year. Okay, it shows year 4 digits. Oh, nice. Then month 2 digits. Nice. And day of the month 2 digits. Okay, awesome. I didn't know this was available. So you see how IntelliSense is advanced recently. And it will be simply like this. Now it should work. Let's test it. Okay. And oh, it is still not loaded by, so the value is not set. I think maybe this requires a bigger string like this, or maybe at see. Yeah, it is expecting something like this. Yeah, that is our mistake. Let's restart. It may be also case sensitive, but I'm not sure about that. Oh, still not set. Why? Maybe it requires lowercase. Let's try that. Oh, HTML okay, new, min, max, type, name, value. Okay, so start working, expecting. So it is case sensitive. According to this answer, we can set type, ID, name, whatever we want, and the value itself. Let's see, will it work or not? Still not working. Why? We are setting value differently, but it is not working. Okay, let's try. Okay, according to the answer here, we need to set add character as well, and it is also case sensitive. So let's retry. Okay, still not working. So annoying, because whatever we do, we are not able to set value of this. Nothing works. Everywhere it is different, really, seriously, everywhere it is different. It says like this in here. Let's remove the type and try like this. Let's see what it put out. If this works, then we can move from on here. Maybe it is because the browser is not able to handle, but in the source we can't also. Yeah, value is not getting here, no matter what we do. It is interesting. New value not working. Let's try like. Okay, this didn't work either. So try this. Okay, not working either. Nothing works. Property you're binding has a value. Oh, I see. So there is no way of changing this. I see. So when we bind, we are not able to change its value. Okay. Okay, someone else also asked this. They have fixed it with jQuery. Oh, there is display format. Maybe this can work for us. Yeah, maybe this would work. I think this can be even better. But we also need to set type as date. Yeah, type date. And in our model here, I'm going to change the display format as Date time. No, this is not interesting. Would this work? No, this is not working. We have tested this. Okay, so here so we can set format as well. Try first and no, still not working. Anyway, okay, I have noticed it that we have a very small error. That is why it didn't work last time. You see, it is expecting this type of input because according to ICAO 8601, this is the format. Therefore, after I have changed the format like this, now it is working. Let me show. Okay, we did refresh and see the date is here. So let's also set it another date like this and submit. Okay, it doesn't accept December according to our custom verification. Okay, now updated. When I refresh, you will see date is also being displayed. Okay, everything is working totally as expected. Let's open our tutorial. Okay, verification is success. Okay, here we are returning validation success. Okay, and okay, I think I will end the lecture here so we can continue from custom validation object. It will be also good for us that because we will remember what we were doing previous week. So let's take the lecture notes. Okay, we are left with here. Okay, let's read this part as well.
Congratulations, you have now implemented custom validation logic for one of your properties. One of the really cool benefits of this approach is that your validation logic isn't necessarily tied to a specific model. Instead of calling your class web user birthday validation attribute, you could have just called it birthday validation attribute and reused it across all types of birthday-related properties in your project. On the other hand, you will run into situations where it makes perfect sense to tie your validation logic to your model. We'll see how that works in the next section of this article.
Okay, so we are simply validating as we wanted. Okay, so let's take the notes of lecture 8. In the lecture 8, what we did was we have defined custom action name. How to define, write this, note this, how to modify payment format and display on the client side, how to set different input types the client side with using type property of text box for. I will also update database so you can use that as well. I mean update database backup file. So let's add it to DBS PMS. Okay, there is PMS backup, so I will just delete it here. Okay, and here. And let's copy and paste it into our lecture 8 here. Okay, so now time to update the GitHub repository. Okay, hopefully see you next week.